Hello, my name is Jim. Thank you for coming to the channel. I appreciate it. Today I'm going to talk to you about a personality type called ENFJ. Now, recently I found out that I actually had it. A little background on me. I went to school for TV and radio broadcasting and production, currently study social science and film. And I just found out recently that I had it, like I mentioned, and basically went to a forum yesterday, an ADHD forum, mind you, took a personality test that someone had put in a thread, and the results were kind of interesting to me. That at the end of it, after I clicked the submit button and I went to the page, it said, "You are ENFJ." And so I looked up what that was because I had no clue. I found out that it matched me just as good as it could. About 98% of it did. And it was kind of staggering to me when I'm looking at a personality type that I didn't even know I had, didn't even know existed. Basically, here's a little background on that certain thing. You're caring. You really feel for others. You're basically this type of person that is not more about you, you're more about other people. You're very driven, very committed to something, so you're loyal. When you're involved with something, you try your hardest to make sure it's done. If you're in a way, you can be type A personality sometimes, and so you're driven and you're making sure that everything is done in a correct way. You're very good with money, so your business is pretty well in tune with things. Like the intuitive part of this whole thing, you basically can understand people, and you can understand how they work, how they operate, and that is a good thing for you because you know what sells and what doesn't sometimes. So that can really help in a business type of world and in a certain conversation. If you know the room, if you will, like comedians have to know a room when they speak to certain people. Having ENFJ in that world is a big deal because you automatically have a way of knowing what is going to work and what's going to kill, if you will, as a comedian. And then when you just do a normal acting exercise and whatnot, you could know what works in those certain areas too. So, I had gotten into all these acting programs, and my mom told me to go to college because she felt that I needed to have a backup plan, if nothing else, if I was going to go into acting. Now I'm more interested in the social science world. But, at the same time, I would have never realized that if I didn't go to college originally. So it was a good thing that my mom wasn't able to do that. She didn't say sort of to take away my dream of things, because ENFJ do have a problem with being a dreamer. You're a big idealist, so automatically your ideas can be considered far-fetched at times, even though they don't seem to be to you. And it doesn't mean that they can't be done. Some personalities like to just throw things off and away because they feel they're involved with something, you stay the way it is, and if anything's going different from that, it's crazy to them. And until you prove them wrong with it, it's just going to be the same way. So it doesn't necessarily mean that your dreams or your ideas can't be achieved with the ENFJ. There's a lot of great people who were one. Abraham Lincoln, Barack Obama, Ronald Reagan, all were considered to have that same personality. If you think about it, it actually makes sense. All three were great public speakers. All three were very good in their time. Barack Obama the jury's still out on how his presidency will go. But if we go 10 years in the future and it turns out to be doing very well, we know that he was in the same line of those two presidents. Right now, during his time, Ronald Reagan was considered a very controversial figure, as was Abraham Lincoln especially. So in the times that they're in, they're not as much appreciated. But their speeches and the way they're able to connect with certain people, understand people, feel for other people, that's a good thing. And that's what the ENFJ type is. No matter if you care about a certain president or not, that personality type is what they were. A speech from Barack Obama can be considered one of the best speeches of all time from a president, just because he knows how to speak well and is very charismatic, and that's how he gets elected to things so many times. Abraham Lincoln's the same exact concept. So was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was actually an actor as well, so that also makes you think that it works so well in that department. So it's not as if these things are crazy. They're not coincidental. They're basically making sense. If one person is ENFJ, they're probably going to be considered a very big-time ENFJ person. There's very few ENFJs who are just a little bit ENFJ. It seems to be most are either stuck in it or not. You can be a little bit manipulative if you're an ENFJ, which can be kind of throwing people off. Because you're a good leader, because you're a good motivator, and you're charismatic, sometimes that can be manipulative to other people. I'm not very good with that word, by the way. So basically, that can be a problem. You're considered stubborn by so many people. You don't take in good ideas from others because it doesn't fit what you're trying to say or do. That can be a problem too. You can be a little bit overbearing. You can be smothering, and some people don't care for that. A lot of times in the bedroom, you can be smothering into the fact that you ask so much on what you can do to be better because you want to make sure that you're doing good in that area. Or you want to do well in a relationship, so you try your hardest to keep asking questions on what they want. It's considered a good thing by some personalities, but others it's considered smothering. So you want to be sure that you can try to find a line between those two. There's a lot of times I get relationship questions asked to me because I work in that department as well. And they'll ask me, why is he so stubborn? Why is he always, trying to find out more about me? I don't want someone to always ask me what I want in life every 2 minutes. And it's just how the ENFJ person reacts. They can't really help it. They just care so much that they want to be great for you, and they want to be great and care about what you're doing. They care about other people so much so that they put everything they can off and make it about you. So they are some of the best people to be around at times because they can be the life of the party. They can be dynamic. They can be a great leader. They can be the one that is fun and interesting to talk to. So that's the person you kind of want to stay with instead of the gloomy person that sits on the side of the room and doesn't want to talk to anybody, doesn't want to be involved in anything. That personality is completely different from the ENFJ. It's kind of the opposite. So because of that, they clash. There's a lot of personalities that do clash with ENFJ, which is why there's so many problems with that certain personality type. So it's not as if it's a bad thing, but at the same time, it can be. So your personality types will clash with some other personality type all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that ENFJ is the only one this happens to. So don't get too worried if you are one and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to clash with somebody. It won't necessarily too bad. For me, I never like to label things. I never consider myself a Republican or Democrat, or I'm a Christian, but I never consider myself a Baptist, Church of God, or a Catholic, or anything like that, because I felt that if I'm going to be involved with something like a religion, I don't want to make it about one denomination, make it all about one certain thing, because to me that was always a bad idea when you try to take away the ideas of everything for what fits that certain denomination and not the fact of the whole book or the whole religious space. So I never considered myself a certain church. I always considered myself a religious Christian in that regard. So I never liked to have that whole stamp or label put on me. But with ENFJ, I feel it's a good thing to be a stamp on you, because that one is one that you can hang your hat on, and it's one that you can say to yourself that at the end of the day, this is what I am. I can't change it. It's the one thing that's mine. And even though it may clash with other people, it's still what I have and what I have to give. And people will like that about you, but on the same time, some others won't. But at the same time, too, disregarding everything else, the ENFJ are more liked by people than most other personalities because of the fact that they can be fun to be with. They can be the leader. They can be the one that cares so much. But at the same time, too, you got to think about how they feel when they go home or how they feel when they're not around people. If they don't have something to care about or something like that, and it's only about them, that can be a little bit different for them. So they're not the person that is going to be doing well without a social interaction, if you will. So they're not the person that's going to be probably learning well in homeschool, or they're going to be the person that learns well in school. They're not going to be the person that does well with a home business. Most likely they'll work better in a normal business area. It doesn't mean none of them will, because that can't happen. There's always an exception to every rule. But tend to be that is kind of the case. So I'd like to know what your opinion is on ENFJ and any personality type you want to throw out there too. I'm going to do a few more videos and see what you guys think about it. But this one I want to kind of see what you guys think on ENFJ. Let me know in the comments below whatever you think about it. I'm open for anything. So see you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by. Again, my name is Joe Brigette, and I appreciate the I guess the views and comments you're going to give me. And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.